All right, we're going to go over some takeaways from this Sheboygan cyclocross race and some of the errors I made, like this guy making errors. Touched his butt there. Probably going to go to jail afterwards if he presses charges. But we're going to talk about my errors and some of the just attacks and attempts that I made to get away from people and how they didn't work. So I see my teammate Cohen here comes around me. Didn't recognize him up until I kind of noticed some pink, but I didn't know he was in this race. So cut him off a little bit here. But another important bit here is Finn in front of us. This junior, we've talked about him in prior race where he's hopping barriers and stuff. I noticed here that when I remounted, I was able to remount relatively slowly, but also I kind of put in a decent attack and get ahead of him so I can catch this guy. So I put in a good effort here to get back into the front of the race. You can see the power spike there pretty strongly. But I put that in the little mental bank for later. This section here, if you took these lines correctly, like wide right here, cut it real tight here to the left, and then was able to take this pretty straight, you could save some of that speed and momentum we've talked about in previous videos. And I really needed that because here I was going to take some rest. So I'm taking some rest right here. You can see the power just kind of goes basically to nothing. And then I hit this really hard. And you're going to see later that I also hit this pretty hard in other laps, and there's reasons for that, but you can see this power surge right there gets me right back up into the front of the race. And then this downhill gravel section was really, really fast. If you took this line correctly, you could go really fast, and then just a little bit of spike here to get back up above this little riser could kind of maintain all that speed. So kind of an important bit of this course here was to maintain your speed there and get over that riser with some more speed. And you can see here I'm already catching back up to that group ahead of us with Cohen. And that's how this course kind of played out. The other interesting feature of this course is sand. So you can see get past here, which is a good idea on his end because there's a sand section here. And if you get caught behind someone, that becomes problematic. So you're going to see it gets a little deep. No real ruts are formed yet. And like I was just saying, if you get stuck behind someone, you're jumping off your bike and you're running. Now, the error I made here was I thought I could remount again and be just as fast, but you can see he's running and he's passing me on the right-hand side there. So kind of an error on my end where when you have a mistake, don't think about just getting right back on your bike. And here you can see I was also having issues with the sand afterwards. I'm kicking off the sand out of my pedals to be able to clip in. You're going to see that's just a terrible mistake on my end. I do put a little surge here to catch back up to these guys, but man, I was having difficulty with the sand. And the big point there is just to keep pedaling and eventually you'll clip in. If you got to shake off some of that stuff, you know, that's important. The other section here that I noticed was you can see the guy on the fat tire bike up there, he was unfortunately slowing down here for him. But for me, that I kind of put that in the mental bank as well, knowing that a fat bike wasn't going to be as fast on the flats here. And so I could catch up to George here on the fat bike with little effort on that long stretch. And that's important later because I'm going to have a battle with him coming up. But you can see here, we get caught a little bit behind him, and I noticed that we're going slower than we want, and I know we're going slower than Finn wants here. So I tell Finn, like, this is where you make your pass right here. I tell him that. He makes a little jump. I catch up, and I put a good power surge and join him, and I just kind of sit on his wheel. So I was kind of coaching him in a sense that I really wanted him to go. I mean, it wasn't really coaching. Then he does a good little block here on these barriers because he knew I was passing him last time. But, yeah, I mean, I just kind of noticed that he was kind of giving it, and I wanted to follow him. So here you can see he puts a good dig. He kind of looks back. Hey, did I drop him? I was like, no. Thankfully, hasn't dropped me yet. But then I see that there's going to be some traffic here. So I make a good jump because I want to be first into this downhill section. Good power spike, and that makes me first into the long downhill where I can go fast. It also puts me first here so that I can get this little dig going, maintaining my momentum instead of being behind Finn, which is a smaller junior. I can maintain all my speed down that hill. So that was a good move on my end. Now he wants to be in front of the sand here, so I want to do something similar. I'm going to pass him again, be in front of him before the sand section. You see how this sand section plays out. I did all right. There's really no ruts. There's a little bit of a rut there on the left-hand side, so I take that. I ride it. I continue to ride on the softer, sort of wetter grass, or the harder wet grass there. But again, I have problems with my clipping into my pedals there. Oh, man, it's just such a problem. So here's the front of the race. Pretty much out of my reach now. Unfortunately, But then we come around to lap 3. I'm going to put some power here on George. George is sitting on my wheel, the guy on the fat tire bike. So here you can see I put a good effort there trying to get rid of him. I really want to drop him. You can see, again, I put a big power spike up the hill thinking the fat tire bike might not be as great up the hill. So I put a good effort there. Just can't shake him. I remember yelling at him. I was like, man, I just need to drop you right there. And I just can't do it. So get a little arrow here, and I'm still got George on my wheel. It's just kind of unfortunate. Because what eventually happens here is that's the front of the race, again, gone. But I get to the sand section. George is on my wheel still with the fat tire bike. And here you see I mess up. I make an error. I had to jump off. And George just passes me right. I mean, he's just riding. With the fat tire bike, it's a real advantage here in the sand, right? He's riding all the way up to the stairs. I, again, make the error of trying to remount instead of running. And I also have the error of, sand in my cleats where I don't clip in. But I notice, again, remember, George was slower on the straights here. So I was going to put a good effort. This power here is not that great. It's not that high. So I probably could have gone deeper. But you can see the front of the race again. They're in a battle there. And now I'm just going to put that power down. Now you can see I'm putting a decent amount of power, which I should have been doing that whole stretch. It just wasn't enough. And you can see George is just outside of catchable distance. I mean, maybe he makes an error, but I kind of bob my head here. This is a fake out. I was totally bobbing my head on purpose, thinking maybe he gives up, maybe he goes easy, and thinks that I'm suffering when I'm not. Look at my power. I do a good spike there. I keep it up. I think maybe I faked him out. Maybe I could catch him. Maybe he sits up a little bit, but unfortunately he doesn't. So hopefully you learned something from this video. Again, there's some errors that I made. I tried everything I could to limit my disadvantages to George on the fat bike in the sand, but it is what it is, and this is how these races play out. So thanks again for watching. Please like the video if you can, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm. Be sure to subscribe for all the other videos that are coming out. And again, thanks for watching.